Part 7. Answers to Common Atheist Objections. Welcome to the final section of the case for Catholicism. 153 Biblical and Historical Facts Every Christian Should Consider. In Parts 1 through 6, we examine the biblical foundations of Christianity, the Church founded by Christ, the authority of Scripture and tradition, the sacraments, church history, and many of the questions that divide Christians today. But many modern people are not deciding between Catholicism and Protestantism. They are deciding between belief and unbelief. They are asking questions about science, origins, consciousness, history, and the existence of God itself. Contrary to popular belief, science has not eliminated these questions. In many cases, scientific discovery has revealed realities far stranger and more mysterious than previous generations imagined. The deeper we investigate the universe, the more we encounter questions about beginnings, order, information, life, and meaning. In this final section, we will examine some of the most common objections raised by atheists and skeptics. The goal is not to attack science but to ask whether the evidence points beyond itself. Let's begin with the universe. 127. The universe had a beginning. For much of human history, many philosophers and scientists assumed that the universe had always existed. During the 20th century, however, discoveries in astronomy and physics led to the widespread acceptance of the Big Bang model. According to this model, the universe expanded from an extremely hot and dense beginning. Space, time, matter, and energy all appear to have a starting point. This raises a profound question. If the universe began to exist, what caused it to exist? Everything we observe within the universe has a cause. The universe itself appears to be no exception. Whatever caused the universe cannot itself be part of the universe it created. This question moves beyond science alone and enters the realm of philosophy. 128. The Big Bang is consistent with a created universe. The Big Bang does not prove Christianity, nor does it prove the existence of God. However, it is remarkably consistent with the idea that the universe had a beginning. Before the 20th century, many scientists preferred eternal universe models because they appeared to remove the need for creation. Today, the evidence strongly suggests that space, time, matter, and energy came into existence together. If time itself had a beginning, then the cause of the universe would have to exist beyond time and space. This concept closely resembles what philosophers and theologians have traditionally meant when they speak of God. 129. The universe appears intelligible and ordered. One of the most remarkable facts about reality is that human beings can understand it. The universe follows mathematical laws, predictable patterns, and discoverable principles. Scientists can write equations on paper and use them to predict events occurring billions of light years away. Why should the universe be understandable at all? Why should mathematics describe reality so accurately? Why should human minds be capable of comprehending the cosmos? These questions do not prove God, but they suggest that reality is deeply ordered and rational in a way that invites explanation. 130. The laws of nature require explanation. Science explains how the laws of nature operate. It describes gravity, electromagnetism, nuclear forces, and the behavior of matter and energy. Yet science does not answer a deeper question. Why do these laws exist in the first place? The universe could have been chaotic, random, and unintelligible. Instead, it operates according to consistent rules that make science possible. The existence of such laws raises a philosophical question that lies beyond the scope of experimentation. Why is there an orderly universe governed by laws rather than no laws at all? 131. Why is there something rather than nothing? Perhaps the most fundamental question in philosophy is this: why does anything exist at all? Every object we encounter depends upon something else for its existence. Trees depend upon seeds. Buildings depend upon builders. Planets depend upon stars. Yet if everything depends upon something else, we eventually arrive at a deeper question. Why does reality exist in the first place instead of nothing at all? Atheism, theism, and other worldviews all attempt to answer this question. The question itself remains one of the greatest mysteries ever considered by the human mind. 132. Not everything can be self-caused. Some skeptics ask, if everything needs a creator, who created God? Classical Christianity has never taught that everything requires a cause. Rather, it teaches that things which begin to exist require a cause. A thing cannot create itself because it would need to exist before it existed. Philosophers therefore distinguish between contingent things, which depend on something else, and a necessary reality that depends on nothing beyond itself. The God of classical Christianity is proposed as that necessary reality, the uncaused cause upon which all other existence ultimately depends. 133. fine-tuning raises legitimate philosophical questions. Modern physics has revealed that many fundamental constants appear to fall within extremely narrow ranges that permit life to exist. Small changes in certain values could prevent the formation of stars, galaxies, chemistry, or even stable matter. Scientists and philosophers disagree about how to interpret these facts. Some argue for chance. Others propose multiverse theories. Still others see evidence of design. Regardless of one's conclusion, the discussion demonstrates that fine-tuning raises genuine philosophical questions rather than settled answers. 134. The universe appears fine-tuned for life. The more scientists learn about the cosmos, the more they discover how delicately balanced many aspects of reality appear to be. Gravity, the strength of nuclear forces, the mass of particles, and countless other variables seem to operate within ranges that permit life to exist. Whether one interprets this as coincidence, necessity, a multiverse, or design, the observation itself remains remarkable. Human beings inhabit a universe capable of supporting life, consciousness, and reason. For many believers, fine-tuning serves as one more clue that the universe may not be the product of blind chance alone. Before we continue, I'd like to ask a small favor. If you've made it this far, you've just journeyed through scripture, church history, science, philosophy, and some of the biggest questions humanity has ever asked. If you enjoy thoughtful discussions about Christianity, history, faith, and evidence, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps more people discover this content and supports future projects like this one. And leave a comment below with the words, "Truth is worth seeking." I'd love to know where you're watching from and which fact in this series challenged you the most. Now let's continue. Section B. Life, Information, and Design. 135. DNA contains functional information. Inside every living cell is DNA, a molecule that stores the instructions necessary for life. DNA does not merely contain chemicals. It contains organized information used to build proteins and regulate biological processes. The discovery of DNA revealed a level of complexity far beyond what scientists previously imagined. When scientists describe DNA, they often use terms such as code, transcription, translation, and information. These are not theological terms but scientific ones. The existence of information-rich systems within living organisms remains one of the most remarkable discoveries in modern biology. 136. Life has never been observed arising from non-life. Despite decades of research, scientists have never directly observed non-living matter spontaneously becoming a living cell. Laboratories have produced some building blocks of life, but the leap from chemistry to a fully functioning living organism remains unobserved. This does not mean such a process is impossible. It simply means that the origin of life remains an open scientific question. The existence of life is undeniable. The mechanism by which the first life emerged is still being investigated. 137. The origin of life remains one of science's greatest mysteries. Even if evolution explains how living organisms change over time, it does not explain how the first living cell originated. The first cell required information, energy systems, molecular machinery, and self-replication. Scientists continue to explore various hypotheses, including chemical evolution, RNA world models, and other proposed pathways. Yet no universally accepted explanation currently exists, making the origin of life one of the most significant unanswered questions in science. 138. Scientific knowledge continues to reveal new complexity. Throughout history, many people assumed life was relatively simple. Yet each scientific advance has revealed deeper layers of complexity hidden within living systems. Cells contain molecular machines, repair systems, transportation networks, communication pathways, and information processing mechanisms. Far from eliminating mystery, scientific discovery often reveals how much more there is still to understand. Section C. Geology, Fossils, and Deep Time. 139. Soft tissue has been found in some dinosaur fossils. In recent decades, researchers have reported the discovery of soft tissue structures, proteins, and blood vessel-like materials within some dinosaur fossils. These findings surprised many scientists because biological materials were not expected to survive for such long periods. Researchers have proposed various explanations involving preservation mechanisms, mineralization, and unusual chemical conditions. While these discoveries do not settle debates about geological timescales, they demonstrate that fossil preservation may be more complex than previously assumed. 140. Fossils sometimes extend through multiple geological layers. Some fossilized trees and organisms appear to pass through multiple sedimentary layers. These are sometimes called polystrate fossils. The observation itself is widely recognized and documented. The debate concerns interpretation. Some geologists argue that special local conditions explain these formations within conventional timescales, while others suggest they indicate rapid burial and rapid sediment deposition. The evidence is real, the explanation remains debated. 141. Mount St. Helens demonstrated rapid layer formation. When Mount St. Helens erupted in 1980, scientists observed volcanic activity, mudflows and catastrophic flooding reshaped the landscape in a matter of days. Layered sediments formed rapidly, demonstrating that some geological features can arise much faster than many people once assumed. The event provided a rare opportunity to watch geology happen in real time. While most geologists do not view Mount St. Helens as overturning deep-time geology, it clearly demonstrated that catastrophic processes can produce significant geological features far more quickly than previously imagined. 142. Geological formation rates can vary dramatically. Not all geological processes occur at the same speed. Some formations appear to require long periods of time, while others can form surprisingly quickly under the right conditions. Because rates vary widely, geologists must interpret evidence rather than directly observe ancient events. This distinction is important. The rocks themselves are observable. The stories used to explain how they formed are interpretations that attempt to fit the available evidence. 143. Catastrophic events can reshape landscapes quickly. Earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis, floods, and landslides can dramatically alter landscapes within hours or days. Entire valleys can be carved, coastlines transformed, and enormous quantities of sediment deposited during a single event. Modern catastrophes remind us that slow processes are not the only forces shaping the Earth. Geological history may involve both gradual change and sudden catastrophic events working together over time. 144. Flood geology attempts to explain certain fossil patterns. Some scientists and researchers argue that large-scale catastrophic flooding could explain aspects of the fossil record, extensive sedimentary layers, and mass burial sites found around the world. Most mainstream geologists favor long-age interpretations, while flood geologists propose alternative explanations based on large-scale catastrophe. The discussion illustrates an important principle. Observations and interpretations are not always the same thing, and competing models sometimes attempt to explain the same evidence. Section D. Evolution and Biological Origins. 145. Evolution explains adaptation more easily than origins. Evolutionary theory provides explanations for many forms of adaptation and variation within living organisms. Changes in populations over time have been observed and documented in both nature and laboratory settings. Few people dispute that organisms can adapt to changing environments. However, explaining adaptation is not necessarily the same as explaining origins. The mechanisms that may account for changes within existing life forms do not automatically explain how the first living organism came into existence. Many critics argue that the greatest challenge remains explaining the origin of life itself. 146. The origin of biological information remains debated. DNA contains vast amounts of functional information. The question is not whether the information exists but how it originated. Every living cell depends upon information-rich sequences that direct biological activity and reproduction. Some scientists believe undirected natural processes are sufficient to explain this information. Others argue that information-rich systems point toward intelligent design. Regardless of one's position, the origin of biological information remains one of the most actively debated questions in biology. 147. Complex organisms present extraordinary probabilistic challenges. Living organisms contain thousands of interconnected systems operating simultaneously. Proteins, enzymes, cellular machinery, and genetic information must function together in remarkable coordination to sustain life. Supporters of intelligent design argue that such complexity raises important questions about whether chance and necessity alone can adequately explain life's origins. Critics disagree and point to evolutionary mechanisms. The debate continues because complexity remains one of biology's most fascinating features. 148. Irreducible complexity raises important questions. Some biological systems appear to require multiple interacting parts before the system can perform its function. Advocates of irreducible complexity argue that removing key components causes the entire system to fail. Critics contend that such systems could have developed through evolutionary pathways involving different intermediate functions. Regardless of which explanation proves correct, The discussion highlights the continuing effort to understand how highly integrated biological systems originated. 149. The more we learn about the cell, the more complexity we discover. The cell was once thought to be a simple blob of living material. Modern biology has revealed an astonishing world of molecular machines, error correction systems, transportation networks, energy production, and information processing. Each generation of scientific discovery seems to uncover new layers of complexity hidden within even the smallest forms of life. Far from eliminating mystery, advances in biology often reveal how much more there is still to learn. Section E, History and Historical Reliability. 150. Biblical authors recorded failures as well as victories. Ancient kings and empires often celebrated their victories while minimizing or ignoring their failures. Egyptian pharaohs, Assyrian kings, and Roman emperors commonly used historical records to project strength and legitimacy. The Bible frequently does the opposite. It records the sins of Abraham, the disobedience of Moses, the adultery of David, the idolatry of Solomon, and the denial of Christ by Peter. This willingness to preserve embarrassing details gives the biblical record a level of self-criticism rarely found in ancient national histories. 151. Christianity makes historical claims open to investigation. Many religions focus primarily on philosophy, mythology, or spiritual teachings. Christianity also makes historical claims. It claims that Jesus lived in a specific place, under identifiable rulers, was crucified, and rose from the dead. These are not merely abstract theological ideas. They are claims tied to people, places, dates, and events. Whether one accepts them or rejects them, they can be examined, debated, and investigated using historical methods. 152. Archaeology has frequently illuminated the biblical world. Archaeology has repeatedly uncovered cities, inscriptions, rulers, customs, and locations mentioned in the Bible. Discoveries continue to shed light on the historical setting in which biblical events occurred. Archaeology does not prove every biblical claim, nor does it prove Christianity. However, it has consistently demonstrated that the biblical authors were writing about real places, real people, and real historical settings rather than an entirely fictional world. 153. The earliest Christians believed they witnessed the risen Jesus. Christianity began because the earliest Christians claimed that Jesus rose from the dead and appeared to them. According to the New Testament, Jesus appeared not only to the apostles but also to many other followers, including more than 500 people at one time according to St. Paul. The first Christians endured persecution, imprisonment, and even death while proclaiming this message. People may die for something they mistakenly believe to be true, but they rarely suffer and die for something they know to be false. Whether one accepts their testimony or not, the rapid growth of Christianity is difficult to explain without taking seriously what these first witnesses claim to have seen. Conclusion. We have reached the end of our journey through 153 biblical and historical facts. Throughout this series we have examined scripture, church history, theology, science, philosophy, and the testimony of the earliest Christians. At the center of Christianity stands a historical claim, that Jesus Christ lived, died, and rose again. Ultimately, every person must decide what best explains the evidence. Either Jesus truly rose from the dead as his followers proclaimed, or we must believe that countless eyewitnesses were deceived or deliberately spread a falsehood despite facing persecution, imprisonment, torture, and death for that testimony. Christianity is not merely one religion among many. It is the most important event in human history, because it confirms who Jesus claimed to be and changes the meaning of life, death, and eternity for every human being. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the case for Catholicism. 153 biblical and historical facts every Christian should consider. And now I leave you with the same question that Jesus asked his disciples nearly 2,000 years ago. Who do you say that I am?